Well, hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I am so sorry to be 15 minutes late. Mondays are just extremely busy days for me, but I got it together and I think we're going to do something good. Bob, I am so glad you're here. This is going to be a day for you, Bob, because what I was doing when I was not paying attention to what time it was is I was basically trolling around the Burlington, Vermont school websites looking for any, well, updates since the last time that we saw Burlington, Vermont show up, which was in last academic school year when a whole bunch of us, it wasn't just me, but a whole bunch of us found these crazy webinars that the Burlington, Vermont School District put on the internet, basically having 12-year-olds on the internet coming out as trans with the help of their guidance counselor and all sorts of other crazy stuff. I may have caused a little bit of a kerfuffle for the Burlington, Vermont schools when we got that information broadcast all over national conservative media. And then they wrote several hit pieces on me calling me a transphobe, even though, like, when I was in high school in Vermont, I was actually campaigning for civil unions, which is the precursor for gay marriage. It was the very first issue that I was ever interested in politics at all. So apparently being totally okay with like gay people like living however they want to live and marrying whoever they want to marry, and quite frankly being okay with trans people too, because I don't really care if anyone's trans. Apparently in the land of Burlington, Vermont, that qualifies as being a transphobe. If you don't agree with them helping fifth graders come out of the closet with the guidance counselor. I'm just saying. But anyway, so I was trolling around kind of like some of the Burlington, Vermont websites earlier today, and I was like looking for any updates. And I happened across what I think is going to be a very interesting presentation for us to watch. Because if you recall, in Burlington, Vermont, don't think I've forgotten about you. Just because I was focusing on some other things, don't think I don't still have you in my crosshairs. Bob, I haven't forgotten about this. Um, just had some other stuff going on, okay? I do this in my part-time. This is like sport. This is like a hobby. But what I did find is this webinar from Outright Vermont. Now, you might remember Outright Vermont because right after I broke the Burlington schools kerfuffle, Outright Vermont worked with the Human Rights Commission, which is a state agency in the state of Vermont, to host a webinar, basically helping parents to talk to kids about the fact that they're trans in schools, which again, I don't have anything against like kids and teenagers who are suffering from gender dysphoria. I think they should have the help they need. But I do have a problem when you're, doing the G word to these kids to try to convince them that there's something that they're not. Anyway, so Outright Vermont put on this webinar with the state of Vermont. And in that webinar, we infiltrated it with like 4 or 5 different people. They kicked me out of it and we spy streamed the whole thing. But we had people that were in there. And basically, they said that we were all part of a racist YouTube channel. And we shut down their entire webinar as a result of that. And it got written up in 7 days in Vermont where parents basically said that they no longer felt comfortable attending webinars because they might be streamed on YouTube. That is one of the greatest accolades I have ever gotten for Spy Stream. I consider it to be an endorsement. That was Outright Vermont. Well, I was trolling around Outright Vermont's YouTube channel, and what did I find? What have I been telling you guys? I've been telling you that the woke left has such hubris in what they do. They have such hubris that they will tell us exactly what they're doing, and we just need to listen and we need to find it. And what did I find on Outright Vermont's YouTube channel, which only has 32 subscribers? This video that only has 30 views, and I'm not mocking their numbers at all. I love that this has no views. I love that we are going to be some of the first people to watch this content. I fucking love it. This is called Leadership Days. It was filmed in March of 2021, so about a year and a half old. That's fine. We aren't worried about that. March 2021, Gender Affirming Resources in Schools. And look at the well, I don't dare call it clown car, but it does kind of look like a clown car, doesn't it? Look at this group of young, obviously deeply woke progressives that are going to tell us all about the gender affirming resources in Vermont schools. I think that this is gonna be a banner webinar because no one has watched it. We are gonna be some of the first, and we're gonna stream it live, and we're gonna watch it, and we're gonna talk about it, and if they say anything crazy, I'm gonna clip it and put it on the internet, and, that's how we're gonna spend our time today. Now, before we get into it, this is about an hour webinar, so we got a little bit of time. Before we get into it, I wanna plug a few quick things. Now, I do have, an event coming up. Yes, Patty, I really did. I found my true calling in life as an internet troll that can do deep investigative journalism that the journalists refuse to do. I am astounded that this is my profession. This is now yeah, this is my it's true. But I do have a couple of events that I want you guys to know about, and you can find these events by heading over to activelyunwoke.com/events. Sign up for upcoming events here. Let me just put this link in the chat. We'll pin that to the top on YouTube, and I will put it in the chat on Odyssey. Hello to everyone watching on Odyssey. I will put it in the chat on Rockfin. Thank you guys for watching me over on Rockfin, and I will even put it in the chat on Rumble. I think I forgot to set up on Gitter today. I think I did. That's all right. That's okay. I think I might actually still be accidentally streaming on Gitter without even meaning to, but that's all right. So I've got a couple events coming up that I want you guys to know about. Number one, next week with Miss Gabrielle Clark. She is going to teach you how to gather evidence to file a lawsuit against your school. If you find the schools doing crazy shit, as I suspect we are going to hear about the schools doing today in this stream, then you need to attend this event. If you have school age children, you need to attend this event. The last webinar that Gabs did for Actively Unwoke, people were blown away at the amount and the quality of information that they got in that webinar. And I promise you, this one is going to be no different. It's called Building a Case, a step-by-step guide for gathering evidence for a lawsuit against your school. She's also going to teach you how to find legal representation, and she's going to teach you how to prepare yourself and your family to go through a lawsuit. There is no one better to do this on the planet because Gabrielle Clark is the mom who filed the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in schools in the country. She has lived and breathed this space for the past 2 years. She connects parents with lawyers all the time. Gabrielle Clark is really one of the unsung heroes of the anti-woke movement because this woman literally spends her days not fucking around on Twitter, but on connecting families with lawyers to help them sue the schools. That is one of the things that she does. She is currently creating a database of lawyers to make that accessible to parents so that parents have more resources to go to and they can connect with people easier. She truly is a hero. She does so much, and I hope you guys will come to this webinar on October 4th. There is a ticket price of $20 for that, which helps keep the trolls out. It also supports the work that both Gabs and I are doing, so we greatly appreciate that. If you really need financial assistance, if you really can't afford that $20, but you need to come to this webinar, reach out to me privately and I will help you. Don't worry about it. There are resources that are available for that. We have scholarships that we can give to people, but you need to reach out and tell me. Don't just say, oh, it's $20. I'm taking my toys and going home. Reach out and ask, and there will be resources to help you, okay? But we do the $20 because this does take a lot of our time. It takes a lot of our energy. I have to pay for the technology in order to run the webinars. And so that's why we charge the price that we do. And, we hope that people will value the information enough that they support our work. Next up on October 12th, I am going to be doing a webinar. This is a free webinar, but if you would like to make a donation, you will have that option. And what I'm going to do is to walk you through a basic change management strategy that I've worked with organizations, really, really large organizations, to implement change in those organizations using this strategy. And I am developing a way right now to use it to create a grassroots effort to fight back against the woke left. I will detail my thoughts on it and quite frankly ask for your feedback because I don't know of anyone else that's done something like this. And so chances are I could use some feedback. But you can come. That is a free event on October 12th called Our Game Plan Using Change Management to Defeat the Woke Cultural Revolution. And that's what I will be presenting about on October 12th. We also have book club coming up for supporters only on October 22nd. And I'll tell you how you can become a supporter in a second. We are currently reading the Communist Manifesto. I think this should be required reading given our time and given what's going on. So we're going to read it as a group to make it a little bit less painful. And then you can join us for a discussion on October 22nd. There are all sorts of free versions of the Communist Manifesto out there. You can get free audio versions, you can get free PDFs. So you can find this book, I promise you. In fact, fun fact, last night, where did I put it? Hang on. I don't know where I put it. No, I don't know where I put it. Last night, I actually found, by pure accident, I was cleaning out my office and I found a copy of the portable Karl Marx. And I was like, that is a sign of the universe for something. I don't know exactly what, but that is definitely a sign from the universe that I'm supposed to read Marx for some reason. Anyway, we will be having that book club discussion on October 22nd and continuing this Saturday. If you have not yet signed up for the Actively Unwoke book club, you still can, because we are continuing. The book club started on September 17th for the Actively Unwoke book club, but we have 2 more meetings. Just because you missed the first meeting doesn't mean you can't attend the next 2. If you want more information about getting involved with the Actively Unwoke book club, again, this is completely free as long as you purchased a copy of the book. You can visit activelyunwoke.com/book club, and you're going to find more information there about that. And of course, if you want to view Gabs's previous webinar, that is also available on at activelyunwoke.com/events. And I'm working on getting a whole bunch of other on-demand webinars up on demand so you can view those as well. So lots of stuff going on at Actively Unwoke. And I hope you support the work I'm doing. In order to get access to that book club and to just generally financially support what I'm doing, because I really can't do it without your help, here are some ways that you can support me. Number 1, Patreon. I take monthly gifts from $5 a month all the way up to $250 a month. Each of those gifts comes with perks. Minimally, you're going to get access to 2 private Zoom calls with me a week. If you want them, we do them on Mondays and Wednesdays. We're going to be doing one in about an hour and a half. You can also get access to t-shirts, stickers, like some cool, like exclusive supporter perks. You can get access to private calls with me, whatever you like. More information about that is available on the Patreon page. Now, if you don't want to support through Patreon, I totally get it. Some people don't like that. So you can join my locals community. Just like on Patreon, you will get access to exclusive perks, to include 2 Zoom calls with me every single week, just like the one we're doing in an hour and a half. We do them on Mondays at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at noon. You're going to get access to my bitchcraft that I do on the second Saturday of every month. You're going to get access to book club with the Communist Manifesto. You're going to get access to, I really do spend most of my time in locals. So if you want to interact with me directly, ask me questions. That is going to be the very best place you have to do it. You can get access to that for $5 a month or for $50 a year, or more, depending on if you want to, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And then Substack is another way you can support what I'm doing. All of my articles are free on Substack, but you can sign up for a paid account if you value the effort that I'm putting into it, and you will get some extra rewards as a perk. And then last but not least, for 29 more days, I'm still working on getting funding for my Schools Exposed campaign to help train 10,000 parents to find out what the schools are teaching their kids. And this is another way that you can get access to the Actively Unwoke book club. I count every single person who has donated to my Indiegogo campaign as a supporter. And so you will get access to it even if you aren't in locals or Patreon or any of those things. If you want to know more about this, I'm going to be talking more about this in the coming days, because guess what? I'm adding some new perks. I might be adding some shawls that you can buy that are already knitted. But there are also lots of other great perks that you can get, to include first access to the program when it launches in January, to include private training with me. And yes, there is a perk for a custom hand knit shawl. But you see some of these shawls on the back wall right there? I'm going to be putting some of those up for sale if you support the Indiegogo campaign. A couple of them. It does break my heart to give them away because I worked for probably a month on each of them, but I will do it for the good of the order, even though I will shed a tear as I'm doing it. Those perks are coming this week. So if you like access to that, just hang around and I will be showing you what is available. All right, guys, who's ready to kick off this reaction stream? Please mount that like button for me. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I do a variety of content on this channel, though I am mostly these days focused on investigating the schools and looking at this crazy nonsense that's going on. I do have some Disenrage interviews that I'm scheduling right now, so we're going to be bringing some more lighthearted spiritual based content or just personal development content back, because I do think that's important. But for right now, this is what we're doing, because there is so much of this content to watch on the internet. There's so much of it to watch. And like I've been saying, The woke left will tell us their plans overtly. All we need to do is listen. And so, spoiler, I do use these streams as kind of working sessions to watch this content. And guess what? You guys get to see this unfold live. Last week, Glenn Beck tweeted out a clip that we made on this stream. And the people that were watching the stream got to see us watch the content, find the clip, put the clip on Twitter, and then a couple days later watch that clip go from something that no one had ever seen to something that was viral on the internet. And you guys get to see it unfold live. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool to be a part of. And I bet you we're going to find something today. So let's get this party started, guys. Let's get this up. We are watching Leadership Days, Gender Affirming Resources in Schools from Outright Vermont. And fun fact, we have more people watching right now on all of my platforms than they have who have watched this entire video since they put it up a year and a half ago. We're going to find some goodies today, ladies and gentlemen. I can feel it in my bones. Let's get this party started.
Welcome. Welcome. We're setting up the YouTube streaming. All right, here we are. Welcome to Leadership Days, Day 3. I am V. I use they, them pronouns. I am so excited to be with you on Day 3 of Leadership Days. We now have, the streaming has started, which is very exciting. So there are folks here in the space, and there's also folks who are going to be watching.
Oh, this is going to be so great.
One thing to
this is going to be good.
To share this link with all the peoples, and let me do that. Here we go. Yeah, so welcome to Day 3 of Leadership Days. And today we have 2 things happening. I'm just doing one more thing. There we go.
I feel like I've seen at least 2 of these kids before.
We have 2 things happening for our 3rd day of Leadership Days. Welcome back, everyone who's come before, and welcome to, for the first time, for those who are here just for the first time. 2 great things happening today. This morning on this important day, which we hopefully all of you know that today is Trans Day of Visibility. We're going to be doing some work today, learning about what it means to be a trans person in schools, and what's up with trans liberation, and some
liberation. Anytime they use the words liberation or abolition, we think communism, because that's what it means. That's right, David. They are mostly just kids. And some people might frown on the fact that we are streaming children live on the internet. I actually do have some ethical questions in my head over whether or not this is a correct thing to do. But the fact of the matter is that I wasn't the one who put the kids on the internet in the first place. Outright Vermont, who works with the state of Vermont to do this bullshit, put the kids on the internet in the first place. And I find it disgusting, but the fact is that some of the most effective content we can find to push back on what the woke left is doing is content with kids in it. I really do have ethical questions in my head about whether or not this is something I should be doing. But if the content's out there, we need to work with what we have. This is war, ladies and gentlemen. War is not always pretty. It is what it is.
Really important work that the youth organizers at Outright are doing to make things better for trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming youth in schools. So that's this morning, or it's not morning, it's noon. It feels like morning, but it's noon.
Hang on, Phil is making a great point, and this is a point that I should have made, so thank you, Phil, for making it. We don't know their ages, so please do not belittle these kids. Please keep the comments in the bounds of good taste. This is really important, guys. We do not attack kids on this channel. The kids in this webinar are just as much a victim as anyone else. They have been told these things are true by people that they trust. And please remember that the comments you make in the chat on this channel are live and public on the internet. And I don't want to give these people any excuse to come in and say, oh, she just has a transphobic channel. Look at the comments in her chat. I will moderate the shit out of this. And I know most of you will behave yourselves because that's the type of chat that I have. But please, Do not go after the kids. The adults, fair game so far as I'm concerned, but do not go after the kids. They didn't do anything wrong.
Break. And I don't know, David, are we having trivia or fun things today?
Yes, today is history-based trivia. So yesterday was mostly flags, and today is all sorts of exciting history.
So on this Trans Day of Visibility, we're going to learn about history, maybe some of it queer, maybe some of it not, but history is important to knowing where we are. So that'll be fun. There'll be a break, some trivia, and then there's going to be this amazing panel on racial justice leadership in Vermont. Wonderful dialogue opportunity.
Tell us all the things you're doing.
Some amazing racial justice leaders in the state. So that's what's happening, and thank you so much. Oh, thanks, Mackenzie, for reminding me about that. I gotta tell you, I completely forgot, but we are gonna be doing some activities, some mingle activities today, and then some learning about gender today. I'm really sorry, Mackenzie, I completely dropped that, but thank you for noticing that, and I'm sorry that we didn't get to those 2 questions. So on the Jamboard yesterday, we had 2 questions we couldn't get to because of time. I'm sorry we didn't get to that. But thanks for asking, Mackenzie. I'm so glad you're here. So yeah, so this is this amazing session, and I am going to be doing this session with 2 of the youth organizers who I am lucky enough to get to work with, and I would love to introduce them or let them introduce themselves. Amaya, would you be willing to introduce yourself first?
Of course. My name is Amaya. I go by any and all pronouns, and I am a youth organizer at Outright.
And where do you live, Amaya?
I live in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. It's an hour and a half from Burlington, and it is very northeast Vermont, so it's very rural.
It's way up there.
Thanks for being here. Charlie, will you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Charlie. I use they, them pronouns. I live right around Montpelier, and I'm a youth organizer with Outright. Yeah.
They have parental permission.
So
they have it.
Hearing from
That's how they're doing it.
Them throughout the session, and we're also going to have
Vermont be crazy.
to do some learning and meeting of each other. So, as we know, it's Trans Day of Visibility, and trans voices matter, trans lives matter, and it really it's unfortunate. Actually, just another person who's on this group of youth organizers who are working on this project couldn't make it, but we willing to shout their experience as a trans person, and their experience in schools, and why this work of gender liberation in schools and the work of creating access to gender affirming resources matters to them. And so Jay wrote an amazing thing, and Charlie has agreed to read it. So let's welcome Jay this way, and we're just listening and hearing Jay's story. So Charlie, you got it?
Yes, okay. I do. And yeah, I'm glad that I get to share it. Here it is. When I was younger, I did not know that the LGBTQ+ community existed. I thought that being cisgender and heterosexual was the only option. I had struggles understanding my dysphoria and figuring out my orientation. It made me really unhappy. I knew who I was, but I didn't know what labels existed for these feelings. Sorry. When I was about 12 years old, I researched the topic and had figured out a label for my orientation. I'd also
12 years old.
Transgender.
12.
I was unsure about it. I currently live in an environment where people had limited knowledge around any of the LGBT+.
I should download this while
community, much less identified as some part of the community. When I was in 8th grade, my school had started up a GSA type group. I was quite excited about it, but I was unfortunately disappointed when I had found out that a permission slip was needed to be signed. Sorry. I'm a little out of breath.
Captions. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Apologies.
When I was in 8th grade, my school had started up a GSA type group. I was quite excited about it. I was unfortunately disappointed when I found out that a permission slip that needed to be signed was required to be.
Sounds on there and not mine.
Once again, I felt isolated from the rest of the world. When I got up to high school, I felt like I was getting a fresh start, so I began to transition. I, fortunately, was currently living in an environment where I wasn't able to safely get gender-affirming products. Later on in my freshman year, with the help of a friend, I was able to get a product to help me cope with my gender dysphoria.
In their freshman year, with the help of a friend, they were able to get gender affirming products, not with their parents, not because they have an adult. In their freshman year, with the help of a friend.
Towards the end of my freshman year, I found a school GSA. It was called Glow at the time. I was only able to go a few times, but it had a huge impact on me. Being called my preferred name and pronouns by an adult for the first time was special for me. It still is a very important memory of mine. It was unfortunately shut down due to the lack of members, but that gave me the drive to help other students in the school who are part of the community. I wanted to make schools a place where LGBT plus students safely present how they would like to. This would include increasing common knowledge around the community, supplying students with gender-affirming items. Those items would consist of clothing, body care products, and products such as chest binders and gas, creating an environment in schools where students.
She keeps covering up the microphone. They keep covering up the microphone. That's what happens.
Charlie, I'm having a hard time hearing you, actually. I think when you put your face to the other direction, we lose you. Could you go back to the list of gender affirming tools and then share?
Okay, cool. Sorry, I don't know how this computer mic works. Where is that? Okay. Those items would consist of clothing, body care products, and the products such as chest binders and gaps. Creating an environment in schools.
They're getting chest binders in schools.
How they want to, and without judgment, is very important.
They're getting chest binders in schools.
It would decrease the anxiety caused by dysphoria, an anxiety that could make it hard to even be in classes. Schools need to be safe environments, without judgment from staff or peers, no matter what differences a person may have. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
Yeah, we should probably go back and clip that. Hang on. Okay, hang on. Sure. I'm just gonna clip that. I'm just gonna clip that real quick, guys. I want to get her. I want to get this person saying that they do chest binders in schools. Why the fuck? Hang on. I gotta start up my my recording program because it shut down. Okay, new document. This is already going to be more of a hassle than I thought. Okay, new document. Thank you. Configure recording. Yes, go.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I don't know how this computer mic works. Where is that? Okay. Those items would consist of clothing, body care products, and the products such as chest binders and gaps. Creating an environment in schools where students can present how they want to and without judgment is very important. It would decrease the anxiety.
I'm just going to rewind a little bit more to get her to say the whole thing. Okay.
My freshman year, I found a school GSA. It was called Glow at the time. I was only able to go a few times, but it had a huge impact on me. Being called my preferred name and pronouns by an adult for the first time was special for me. It still is a very important memory of mine. It was unfortunately shut down due to the lack of members, but that gave me the drive to help other students in the school who are part of the community. I wanted to make schools a place where LGBT plus students safely present how they would like to. This would include increasing common knowledge around the community, supplying students with gender-affirming items. Those items would consist of clothing, body care products, and products such as chest binders and gas, creating an environment in schools where students without judgment is very important. It would decrease the anxiety caused by dysphoria.
Charlie, I'm having a hard time hearing you, actually. I think when you put your face to the other direction, we lose you. Could you go back to the list of gender affirming tools and then just share?
Okay, cool. Sorry, I don't know how this computer mic works. Where is that? Okay. Those items would consist of clothing, body care products, and the products such as chest binders and gaps. Creating an environment in schools where students can present how they want to and without judgment is very important. It would decrease the anxiety caused by dysphoria, an anxiety that could make it hard to even be in classes. Schools need to be safe environments without judgment from staff or peers, no matter what differences a person may have. And that's
All right. I'm going to cut the clip there. Thank you guys for your patience on that one. I appreciate it. And Phil, thank you for trying to up the volume on that. I have also downloaded this, guys, just so you know. I do have a hard copy. Yeah, what are gaps? I don't know what gaps are, but I do know what chest binders are. Anyway, let's continue.
That's it.
Thank you so much, Charlie. So those, for folks who are just coming in, those are words from one of our youth organizers who's involved in this project who couldn't make it, and their name is Jay, and Charlie was kind enough to read those words. So now we have an opportunity for those of you who were here yesterday. We did this and we're going to do this again. We're going to have an opportunity for a mingle where you're going to get to meet individuals who are in this space with you. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask a couple of questions that you're going to answer. So you'll introduce yourself with your name, your pronouns, where you're from, and then we're going to have 2 prompts. And so you'll do that with folks, one other person in a room for a couple of minutes, then you'll come back into the main session, and then we'll send you out to meet another person and answer a second question. So this is just an opportunity to meet people and reflect on this very special.
That's what it was.
To reflect on
Thank
your
you, James
experience of
Jones.
gender. So this first prompt, you're going to get into a group with 2, and there may be an adult with a youth, or there may be 2 youth, or maybe 2 adults, so it's mixed
Oh, having
mingle.
an adult with a youth is definitely not problematic at all.
Or share a story of the first time when you noticed gender. What is your first memory of noticing gender? So we're going to be doing a mingle. It'll be about just like 2 to 3 minutes of sharing your name, your pronouns, where you're from, and a story or a memory of the first time you noticed gender. David, does that
open the rooms now? Yeah.
Okay.
I hope we get to see them. I hope it follows the host like it did with that Rochester, New York School District webinar that we saw.
Timer for myself.
Thank you, because I don't have my timer. So thank you. Mackenzie, did you get an invitation to a breakout room? Oh, there goes Mackenzie.
There you go.
Well, hi, friends. You know, we're on YouTube streaming live, so I thought that in the main room we might answer the question ourselves. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Just because there may be people watching us. Hello, people watching us.
Hello.
So I can start and say the first time that I noticed gender, the real distinct memory I have is when I was in soccer camp. I was in soccer camp and I was maybe 8, and for some reason I was told, because of how my body was assigned in my name, that I could not be a skins. I had to wear a shirt to play. And all of the people around me, who I gotta say were not necessarily better at me than soccer, got to take their shirts off. And it was hot and it was summer. And I remember just an intense sense of like loss of not being able to take my shirt off, and it wasn't just taking your shirt off, it was like putting it over your head. And so it was like on your, you know that? Did you ever do that as a kid? Yeah, so that's a very distinct memory for me. There may be earlier ones, but that's what I got.
Mine actually feels a little bit later than that. So I appreciate, that, memories of gender happen all over the place. But I was in middle school. We were going to put on a play. I think maybe it was Into the Woods. And I really wanted to be the wolf. It's the best role in that whole freaking show. And I have always had a deeper voice. I thought I could really do the role justice. I was super excited about it, but I wasn't allowed to because I wasn't a boy, and that was a boy role. And I was like, it's a wolf role actually, but that didn't fly.
David, you got one? Thank you for sharing that. You got
well, mine was the almost exact inverse of yours, V, which was, oh gosh, it would have been first or second grade during the summer when we'd go, when I did my swimming lessons at the Y. I didn't understand why I wasn't supposed to wear a shirt in the pool, so I had a swim shirt so that no one saw my nipples. Because as a 6-year-old, I was like, I don't understand why my nipples may be shown and other nipples may not be shown. Like, why are we so concerned about the nipples? So I had
That's
a swim
so
shirt.
valid. It's interesting because we had a big, we have lots of conversations, especially about camp outright, to like figure out all of the needs for both being a camp and for being a like celebratory queer space. And one of the places that
by the way, they have a summer camp. I didn't look into it much today, but they have a summer camp for kids. What could possibly go wrong at sending your kids to a GSA type summer camp?
we were really stuck was swimwear. Like when folks go to the pond, you know, what feels affirming and wonderful to wear when you're there, and also what's fair, because yeah, there's this dichotomy of like whose nipples are okay to be out in the open and whose nipples are not. And so at camp, everyone's nipples are covered. That's the swim rule. Like you just have to have your nipples covered. We don't really care how. So it's interesting the way that bodies get the burden of gender all the time.
I'm gonna go ahead and close
yeah.
the rooms.
Thank you so much.
15-second warning.
So
and then
excited.
joining us.
I'm so excited that we get to share this. It's beautiful to hear your stories. Thank you so much.
It's very exciting to share stories with children.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome
No,
back.
it's going to be YouTube famous. I would have worn flashier earrings.
Oh, she has no idea,
you
does
don't
she?
need any more flash. You're amazing. I mean, you're welcome, but you know, I feel like you're flash all on your own. Welcome back. I hope that that conversation had enough time, because there were 3 of us in this main room. We took a little longer, but I hope it was interesting conversations. And now we're going to take a second chance to you know, in thinking about gender, that, you know, you want to introduce yourself to this person and say, you know, your name, your pronoun, where you're from, and answer the question, what was the first time I noticed that someone didn't fit into the gender as I understood it? When was the first time I noticed someone didn't fit in around gender? And then you can have a few minutes. David, you can have fun.
Rooms are opened. Oh, and the timer is set. There we go.
Beautiful. Do you think you could broadcast that question, because it's a little more complicated?
Yeah. And it's, when did someone not fit typical genders? What is the question?
It's just the first time I noticed someone not fitting in around gender.
Time.
What was the first time I noticed? I think the first time I noticed, I mean, David Bowie. David Bowie was really like, and I mean, but it was like so pleasing to me. It was very pleasing to me, but there must have been earlier things, but that's David Bowie jumped in my head, and sort of like his space oddity, you know, his intense, and Boy George. It's like showing my age. Boy George and David Bowie were the first people that I really noticed. Yeah. And goth, I think aspects of goth, you know, people I dated or things, you know, that were happening at that time.
The big male eyeliner.
Yes.
Yep.
Not fitting in. It was very tantalizing and you know, upsetting to my family, but I was not upset. But y'all.
I grew up around drag, which is a little different. So I remember going to an event in drag with like other adults in drag and being very confused as to which bathroom I was supposed to use, which I still think is a valid question, because like people know I was assigned male at birth and then performing in drag as like, it's, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't fit a typical binary bathroom usage case.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what mine is. I, you know, part of my story is that I grew up in a really small town and graduated in a class of 39 other seniors in a public school. And so there was like a lot of the rigidity that comes with small town. But my high school job was working at a furniture store for a couple of lesbians. And so that was the first time I really witnessed a relationship where tasks were assigned based on skill set and not based on gender. And I was like, I want that.
You think lesbians don't have gender roles?
understanding
Really?
myself with
You
in the
think
context of
lesbians
queerness
don't
at
have
that
gender
point, but just
roles?
like observing
Okay.
that gender didn't actually have to be the divide of who mows the lawn and who fixes the furniture. Like, you are doing the woodworking because you're skilled at woodworking, and you're like, there's just this much more
Awesome.
openness to change. Yeah.
Amazing. Gonna close the rooms.
I have
Thank you for
closed
sharing
the
that.
rooms. They have
All
15
right.
seconds and they will be joining us.
All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Ash, it's just everyone else is coming. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope those conversations were interesting and important, and for all of us who are showing up for leadership days, who may identify as
Her technology, not mine. Oh, there. Sorry. There.
So I want the story share, our personal stories. My internet's a little unstable, but I'm just grateful for participating in those activities. The next thing I'm going to do is an activity thinking about what's up around gender and what's up trans folks around gender. And we're going to use this really great tool. Ash cannot hear a word. Are other people not
It
able?
was getting a little spotty there, and I second guessed myself. I wasn't sure if it was me or you. So Ash, thanks for confirming that V, you might have to repeat some of what you just said.
Oh, sure. Okay, sorry about that. This is rural Vermont. I'm in East Montpelier. You think the internet is stable, but no. So what I was saying is that really the work of showing up for events like this is about being aware of those who don't fit, and sometimes that's us, and sometimes that's the people closest to us, and it really matters that we share those stories and connect together. But this really great tool that we use at Outright called the Gending Machine, and so this is going to be an opportunity for us to reflect
the Gending Machine,
and particularly as it relates to those who fit and those who don't fit, and what is that about? And Charlie has agreed. So I'm doing this thing that I don't usually do. Usually I have people write on a slide deck, but because we're doing YouTube streaming, I'm going to share my screen and have a presentation. And I'm going to ask some questions. And those questions, it'd be really great if you could answer those questions in the chat, because I'm not going to be able to see you. And so if you put the answers in the chat, Charlie has agreed to sort of monitor the chat when I ask a question. Then folks can respond in the chat and Charlie will read them out, and we'll have sort of a conversation in that way. So thanks for experimenting with me as we try to try to make this accessible for folks who are not here, but who are here with us on YouTube. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, here we go.
Oh.
Okay, so this is about understanding why we need gender liberation in schools.
Amazing.
And this tool that we have is connected to, we roll this out. I share this with youth around the state. Mara, our director of education, shares this with adults around the state. Amanda, who's here, our associate director, shares this with folks who are showing up for youth around the state. So this is an opportunity for y'all to reflect on what's up with gender. And so this tool is called the Gending Machine. Another way that we might use this is sort of this question of how we reproduce the gender binary. Because this question that we just asked was about fitting, who fits and who doesn't fit. And the gender binary exists all around us. It exists in many ways. And it's something that we,
even in vending machines,
the
apparently,
more choices we get to make about our relationship to the gender binary. And what is the gender binary? The definition that I like and that we use here is that the gender binary is a system of viewing gender as consisting solely of two opposite categories termed male and female, or boy and girl, in which no other possibilities for gender or anatomy are believed to exist. So the Gending Machine is this really great metaphor. So this is a metaphor, and it's a metaphor to help us understand the gender binary. And so everybody knows what a vending machine is, right? Do you please indicate with your hands or in a hand
yes.
or a thumbs up. Do you have vending machines at your schools, or Do you
We
see
all
them
know what a
around?
vending machine
Some
is.
folks know, maybe they're not at schools in Vermont because there's always healthy food choices. But so vending machines. What's in a vending machine? So write in the chat, what are things that you see in a vending machine? And Charlie, you can read the chat as people write in the chat.
Someone said soda.
Oh yeah, soda.
Chips.
Chips.
A lot of snacks. Just more chips.
Yeah. So yummy, sugary, salty goodness that when you're really hungry, you're like walking around, you're like, I'm gonna eat this. But but we don't necessarily want to eat these things all the time, right? Because if we eat them all the time, it could have a negative experience on our health. But when we think about the gending machine, if we can take this metaphor, this idea of the gending machine that helps to reproduce the gender binary. Oh gosh. What are the snacks that are offered in the gending machine? If you could write in the chat, what are the snacks in the gending machine that's reproducing? What
We
are the
just did
snacks
this.
that are available?
Soda
What are the
and
sugary,
chips.
sweet snacks or salty snacks? What are people writing?
Soda and chips. Move on.
Right. So with this being like a metaphor, the idea is that there's something in the gender binary that is sort of like a package thing that we get of like what's available to us. So, and those are the sort of the equivalent or the metaphor for the snacks. Amanda, you want to interject here?
Yeah, so maybe think about if you're looking at a vending machine with snacks in it, you probably know some of the brands, right? Like you've got your Doritos and you've got your Lay's chips, right? So if you're looking at the gending machine, which is dispensing all of this
This is the worst
gender,
analogy that I've ever
these
seen in
stereotypes
my
of
life.
gender, what would your two main snack brands be?
What they're trying to say, I'm going to guess, is that if you're getting your gender out of a vending machine, you're going to have a limited number of options because there are only a limited number of spaces in the vending machine. But just because you only have a limited number of options within the vending machine doesn't mean there aren't other options available outside the vending machine. I'm pretty sure that's where they're going, is that you're not limited to the name brand salty, sweet snacks and soda that are available to you in the vending machine. You can go outside of the vending machine into this wonderful world where you can get off-brand snacks and crunchy vanilla granola things that you would get at Whole Foods that are not going to be available in a vending machine. You don't have to limit yourself to the vending machine just because that's what's in the vending machine.
Samantha says our sex assigned at birth.
Totally, which typically fall under what two main brands? Male and female, totally. So the snacks that are being distributed by the gending machine are these highly processed concepts of what it means to be male, masculine, he and him, or what it means to be female, she, her, feminine, right? So they're really conflating sex assigned at birth and gender in very highly stereotypical ways.
This is
totally
the stupidest definition in the world.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda, for bringing in the branding, which is the thing that feels very, very key to understanding this gender binary. So
they're saying that gender is a brand. Oh my god. It's just marketing, guys. You only believe that there are men and women because you have been marketed to your entire lives. It was all a PR strategy from the very beginning. No biological reality at all. Remember, gender is a social construct. Oh my god.
Snacks in the gending machine equal male and female, boys and girls, women and men. This reproduction of these categories that make it so a lot of folks don't fit. Here's the next question. So we have these sugary, salty male and femaleness, this thing that sort of come in these brands that we're looking at to receive. And then the next question, what are the ingredients in these male and female snacks? They're going
to say they're all ingredients that are bad for you.
What are the ingredients in these
carbs?
Snacks? What are the stereotypes about what it means to be part of the gender binary? Let's start with the girl category. The girl snack. I'm gonna put that in the chat.
Someone said pretty. Very feminine.
This
pink,
is legitimately the stupidest thing I've
purple,
ever seen. I am dumber
shy,
for having watched this.
Yeah,
ladylike.
Ladylike,
Says
right?
stupid,
What?
long hair, tight clothes, dresses, princesses, always dresses up, makeup,
Mm-hmm.
fairies.
Fairies, yeah. Right. So that's amazing. And we could go on and on. There's so much in terms of those stereotypes and those expectations. What about the boy or male category? What are some of those ingredients in those I always want to say sugary because I have a sweet tooth, but you know, those gender snacks. What's the male ingredients? What are the male stereotypes?
Strong and like, sorry, so like
Go.
tough, like blue, and like strong, sports, always working, doesn't cry.
Mm-hmm.
Short hair, providers, superheroes, cars, trucks, sensitive, no emotions.
Yeah.
Sneakers.
Yeah.
I just want to notice that a lot of the things that came through in terms of stereotypes for femininity were about looking, or rather being looked at, like very appearance-based, pretty. And a lot of the masculine stereotypes are about doing, right? Like sports, tough, strong, like being a provider, being a superhero. Like there's a lot of more action on that stereotype.
Yeah, I mean, and let's just pause here also to ask, like, what do you think the impact with these stereotypes and expectations for folks who are in one of those categories, not performing those expectations?
Is this person saying that the only way to get rid of gender stereotypes, which by the way they're perpetuating with this god awful analogy, they're the ones perpetuating gender stereotypes, but they're saying the only way to liberate yourself from gender stereotypes is to go outside the gender binary and admit that you are not man or woman. I'm pretty sure that's what they're saying. First they present stereotypes, then they reinforce stereotypes. And by the way, they always paint the female stereotypes as fundamentally negative and the male stereotypes as fundamentally positive. And you know, I'm sure it's no coincidence that they have mostly women or girls on this call. They present the female stereotypes as negative, they present the male stereotypes as positive, and then they say the only way to get out of this binary is to admit that there are not men and women, and there are 86,000 genders, and everything is possible. Incognito says, I've dropped 5 IQ points, and it's only been a minute. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, Incognito. I appreciate that.
What do you think the impact is on somebody who might be on the male category, but is displaying or expressing things on the ingredients for the female?
Someone says it hurts, or people can feel othered, or like they're wrong.
Yeah.
Getting harassed.
Yeah. So there's real life consequences to these stereotypes in terms of like folks who are trans, non-binary, or gender non-conforming. But one of the other things that seems really important to look at with this gender binary, this gending machine, is understanding like, where do these come from? How do we receive these stereotypes? And in the Gending Machine, we talk about it as the gears. So those sort of like behind the thing that make the machine go. And the gears, in this sense, they equal the structures of society, the things that make that machine go. And so what are some of the ways in which we learn these stereotypes, learn about the gender binary? What are some of the things and places where we learn about this?
Someone says media.
Absolutely.
Other people around us, your family.
Yeah.
They're forced on you as soon as you're born.
Yeah.
Especially older generation, someone said.
Yeah. So it's passed down from generation to generation through our institutions, our families, our religions, our social structures. Absolutely. Yeah. So in our work to to work with and against the, to shift around the gender binary. We both can do things as individuals, but we also have to respond to these institutions and structures that that continue it. And that's some of the work that we do at Outright and that youth organizers are doing. It's very exciting when we actually think about, let's get in those gears and make some change. I also just want to, like, this next question is, there's this idea too that there's this protective glass
Oh
covering
my
on
God,
the front
they're
of the
still
Gending machine.
going.
What is that protective glass covering?
Yes. The
glass
Gending
covering
Machine
is gender
is
policing.
people,
So this
Vince.
question of, like, how do folks do gender policing? What are examples or ways that you've seen gender policing?
There's going to be a clip
So
coming.
gender
There's a
policing
clip
might
coming.
happen when a person who's supposed to be or expected to do masculinity decides that's not what they want to do. So if somebody is expected to not cry and then they start crying, what happens to that person? What do people say?
Charlie, what are folks saying in the chat?
So right now they're saying, someone said the gender dress code, someone said toxic masculinity, saying things like girls shouldn't wear shorts, boys don't cry.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then so thank you, Amanda, for, like, framing that in terms of, like, what happens when you transgress those norms. Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing. So here's the thing about the Gending Machine. I'm going to stop sharing right now. Here's the thing about the Gending Machine. The Gending Machine is an example and a way of understanding the soup of the gender binary that we're swimming in. And for those who don't fit, we have, like, a real responsibility to, like, wake up to this. And for those who want gender justice, waking up and understanding how the gender binary functions is
Okay. Okay, I found my clip. Hang on. We're gonna go back and we're gonna start at the beginning of the glass covering. And so what I want to get on this clip, and I want to explain what I'm doing, because when you're watching videos like this, it is super, super important to pay attention for, like, what clips are going to generate the essence of, like, the WTF of what is going on in this. And so what I want to do is I want to get a clip from the point where they start talking about gender gatekeeping, and then I want it to go to this person talking to this group of kids in general about the gender binary. I think that that's going to be a really effective clip, and that's the type of stuff we need to watch out for. So let me just get set up. And it's just, by the way, guys, for those who wonder, like, it's honestly just easier for me to clip while we're watching something than to go back and do it later. So that's why I do it live on stream. It takes a couple of minutes, but it allows us to get some really good content in the most efficient way possible.
I also just want to, like, this next question is, there's this idea too that there's this protective glass covering on the front of the Gending Machine. What is that protective glass covering? The glass covering is gender policing. And so this question of, like, how do folks do gender policing? What are examples or ways that you've seen gender policing?
So gender policing might happen when a person who's supposed to be or expected to do masculinity decides that's not what they want to do. So if somebody is expected to not cry and then they start crying, what happens to that person? What do people say?
Charlie, what are folks saying in the chat?
So right now they're saying, someone said the gender dress code, someone said toxic masculinity, saying things like girls shouldn't wear shorts, boys don't cry.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then so thank you, Amanda, for, like, framing that in terms of, like, what happens when you transgress those norms. Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing. So here's the thing about the Gending Machine. I'm going to stop sharing right now. Here's the thing about the Gending Machine. The Gending Machine is an example and a way of understanding the soup of the gender binary that we're swimming in. And for those who don't fit, we have, like, a real responsibility to like wake up to this. And for those who want gender justice, waking up and understanding how the gender binary functions is just an incredibly important tool. So we are going to be in small groups just in a minute.
Okay.
To
let me stop the clip there. I feel like that's a really good clip, to be honest about it. I feel like that's a really good clip. It kind of encapsulates this entire thing of like kind of creepy adults doing things that are creepy. Did I just mess up that clip? Oh no, I hope I didn't mess it up. Damn it, I think I did. Shit. Hang on, guys. Bear with me. I need to do that again. I apologize. That was my fault. One more time. One more time with feeling. I do apologize, guys. I don't know why that did that. I just lost the clip, though, so we're going to do it again.
Yeah, so in our work to work with and against the, to shift around the gender binary, we both can do things as individuals, but we also have to respond to these institutions and structures that continue it. And that's some of the work that we do at Outright and that youth organizers are doing. It's very exciting when we actually think about, let's get in those gears and make some change. I also just want to, like, this next question is, there's this idea too that there's this protective glass covering on the front of the Gending machine. What is that protective glass covering? The glass covering is gender policing. And so this question of like, how do folks do gender policing? What are examples or ways that you've seen gender policing?
So gender policing might happen when a person who's supposed to be or expected to do masculinity decides that's not what they want to do. So if somebody is expected to not cry and then they start crying, what happens to that person? What do people say?
Charlie, what are folks saying in the chat?
So right now they're saying, someone said the gender dress code, someone said toxic masculinity, saying things like girls shouldn't wear shorts, boys don't cry.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then so thank you, Amanda, for like framing that in terms of like what happens when you transgress those norms. Yeah. So I'm gonna stop sharing. So here's the thing about the Gending machine. I'm gonna stop sharing right now. Here's the thing about the Gending machine. The Gending machine is an example and a way of understanding the soup of the gender binary that we're swimming in. And for those who don't fit, we have like a real responsibility to like wake up to this. And for those who want gender justice, waking up and understanding how the gender binary functions is just an incredibly important tool. So we are going to be in small groups just in a minute to have a chance to reflect.
Got it that time.
Thank
you, guys.
And Amaya is going to move into sharing their story in a second, but I think I noticed that Eli came in the room, and I wanted just Eli is a wonderful community partner from Shapeshifters, which is a binder company in Brattleboro that sews custom binders for folks who are looking for binders for gender affirmation. And Eli's here, and I just wanted to give Eli a chance Eli's partnering with us in this project. I just wanted to give Eli a chance to introduce themselves and just share how they feel about participating in gender liberation work with Outright through binder access. Are you there, Eli? I don't see you on my screen.
I am here. Am I popped up now?
Yeah, hi Eli. Thanks for being
Hello,
here.
Hello, everyone.
Hang on, before we get to Eli shilling their binders for kids, AD, thank you for the super chat. The idea, guys, don't cry comes from teaching boys emotional maturity because girls don't need it as kids. Boys are more emotional than it flips at puberty. Don't want boys dealing with their emotions in a physical matter, do we? I mean, I'll say this. I don't think that boys should be taught that it's not masculine to cry. I don't agree with that. I understand what you're saying here, AD, and I appreciate the perspective. But like I do think that I generally think that it would be much more healthy if men were taught to embrace more of an emotional perspective. That's just me.
Here at Shapeshifters, we're celebrating our 7th store anniversary because we launched on TDOV in 2014 when TDOV was kind of even newer than it is now. And so it's really exciting to come over the years. And yeah,
Emotionally stunted
if
person,
you haven't heard
apparently.
of us, Shapeshifters makes custom sized chest binders. I'm here in the studio, and what we do is we take people's measurements and sew binders for whoever needs it.
Hang on.
And one of the really nice things.
Hang on. I'm sorry. I'm fucking clipping this. Holy shit. They're doing a sales commercial for chest binders? In the middle of a training webinar.
Have a chance to reflect. I want, and Amaya is going to move into sharing their story in a second, but I think I noticed that Eli came in the room, and I wanted just, Eli is a wonderful community partner from Shapeshifters, which is a binder company in Brattleboro that sews custom binders for folks who are looking for binders for gender affirmation. And Eli's here, and I just wanted to give Eli a chance to. Eli's partnering with us in this project. I just wanted to give Eli a chance to introduce themselves and just share how they feel about participating in gender liberation work with Outright through Binder Access. Are you there, Eli? I don't see you on my screen.
I am here. Am I popped up now?
Yeah, hi Eli. Thanks for being
Hello,
here.
everyone. Happy Trans Day of Visibility. It's here at Shapeshifters, we're celebrating our 7th store anniversary because we launched on TDOV in 2014 when TDOV was kind of even newer than it is now. And so it's really exciting to come over the years. And yeah, if you haven't heard of us, Shapeshifters makes custom sized chest binders. I'm here in the studio, and what we do is we take people's measurements and sew binders for whoever needs it. And one of the really nice things about doing this work is that sometimes we get a chance to just make stuff for people who need it, and they don't have to pay because someone else pays for our time and labor, and we get to do it. And I started this company in 2014 because there wasn't a binder that fit me, and I didn't have a way to go out into the world and be comfortable as myself. So I made some, and then I made some for friends, and then I made some on Etsy, and I started getting emails on Etsy from people saying, thanks, I can go outside today. And the more people over the years who can go outside and be comfortable and have a good time in their lives and their bodies because of something that we make on a machine in Brattleboro, this is literally why I work, and this is at this point my life's work. This is what I do, is help people like me feel comfortable. Yeah, I'm really, really excited and happy to partner with Outright to help people who come to Outright in this ongoing years-long work. So yeah, that's me. That's what I do.
Thank you, Eli, for being here. We make. Oh, so great. Look, there's some binders.
Got the clip.
Thank you, Eli. So good. I just really invited Eli just so Eli could be here. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the session if you want, but thank you so much for partnering. We're gonna move on just because of time, but I'm so grateful that you made it. And I just want to say green hair is looking really fabulous, I just have to say.
Ah, thanks.
All right, so we were just talking about the Gending Machine and the gender binary, and you know, when we're talking about the impact of not fitting and the impact of gender policing, you know, some of the work that this group of youth organizers has been working on is, you know, telling their story and why it matters to them that we're doing this project, and how you know, what it would mean for them if they had access to these resources in school. So Amaya, you're willing to share your story and talk about how this project, what this means to you? Are you up? Great, go for it, Amaya.
Yes, I'd love to. When I was in high school, I had a lot of issues with other people. I'm a recent graduate of high school, and up until very recently, I was very bad at socializing with others and being able to fit in because of a lot of things, such as being semi-non.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate it.
Trans female, and never being able to fully embrace who I was. If we had had a program like Outright working to help people feel liberated with their gender and comfortable just in their own skin, I feel like things would have been a lot different, because for one thing, I would have been a lot more confident in myself and who I was and believed in who I was, because I was the school I went to had male and female uniforms, only binary uniforms, and I was a transgender female.
You went to St. Johnsbury Academy.
The male binary uniform, and it was very uncomfortable and not helpful. And at this time, that school did not care, because when it comes to things outside of the norm, they're very close-minded, no matter how much they pretend to be. So overall, this program and these things help people believe in themselves in so many ways, amazing ways. And I really wish that I'd been there back when I was going through things and I truly needed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Well, now we're supposed to be trying to get into small groups and share about where you notice the gender binary showing up in your school. And this maybe we'll spend, just because of time, maybe we'll just spend 5 minutes, maybe 3 to 5 minutes in groups of 3. David, can you do that? And maybe we could have the adults hang in the main room if possible.
Oh, I want to hear the kids talk so bad.
Open the room.
Oh, I want to hear them talk so bad.
Great. So if you could broadcast the question.
Where do you see
the gender binary showing up in your school? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amanda, for helping me with the sort of the pieces of the Gending Machine, and really grateful for our team. Thank you so much, Eli.
Sorry to pop in that way.
Yeah, I think I almost asked you to do that this morning, and I'm just glad that you did. So Eli, so thank you so much for coming. Do you want to answer these questions? Right now we're streaming on YouTube, so like we could talk about where we saw the gender binary in our school experience, which might be different than the conversations that are happening right now. And maybe doing, like, I don't know, David, do you have like a 5-minute timer on? Could you do a 5-minute timer?
4-minute timer, and I upped it to 60 seconds when they get
Beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, I had no options as a teen, 0 options. Goth was the closest thing. I only connected with like femme men. Like that was the only thing that was available to me, femme men, and I glommed onto them like crazy. Oh, here comes Emma. Hey, Emma, welcome.
Hey.
We're doing small groups right now, and we're YouTube streaming, and so we're answering the small group question as a group of adults, which is, where do you notice the gender binary in your school experience? And I was just sharing. Yeah, so like for me, there was no, like, it was like, I only noticed it in the absence of anything except femme men, who I was like, I just glommed onto them as like an expression or an opportunity of like anything beyond the incredibly tight like cheerleaders. Like that's what was available to me, cheerleaders, and it was rough. So that's my memory of high school and the gender binary. What about other folks?
I deeply resonate with goth as the non-binary option, as like
Goth
at
was
some
not
point,
non-binary.
Someone told me later that, you know, the 3 genders we had in high school were goth, nerd, and jock. And that that shook me to my core, because I had nerd and jock friends, and they thought I was an alien and told me so to my face. Like, what are you? In not necessarily really friendly or joking ways, just like, what actually are you? I dated someone in high school who was safe in the goth circle, and 10 years later we both came out as trans. It was like, recognizing each other in the egg. It happened. But this was also in Central Texas, and the fact that our dating was seen outwardly as heterosexual was like the safest possible refuge for both of us.
Yeah. Thank you, Elon.
Yeah.
What other folks?
It's funny, Eli's mentioning of sort of clique or tribe identity as sort of a gender aspect made me also think, like, I spent a lot of time with theater. I know everyone is shocked. But like the way, like in sort of like the aspects of theater, like there's a lot more play with gender. And I think that's what attracted some folks there, is that it's sort of a labeling of the performative, similarly with goth.
As a backstage crew queer, I can also affirm that theater is one of the places where someone will hand you a power drill and be like, use this. And I would be like, thank you so much, I will. So
Nice.
figuring out those places of like, yeah, where you can really tinker with it, I think is so important. I just remember like,
She was taught women can't use
you know,
power
who
tools,
felt
except if they're
obligated to
queer.
police gender in high school. Like I remember a boy like grabbing my hand and raising up my arm to make sure that my underarm hair was shaved, you know, to the appropriate length, right? Like who really felt ownership over like ensuring that the gender stereotypes were being met in that way. Was very much a boy's prerogative in middle school.
Yeah, kids are dicks. Newsflash, kids are dicks.
I'm going to begin the closing of the rooms.
Oh
but we will
my
have
God.
A full minute of
Go
warning.
in.
I want to hear what the kids say. I want to hear what the
Well, I
kids
was
have
gonna
to say.
I'm glad that you brought up policing, because I wasn't feminine enough when I first met my friends at that time. So to pass, I started wearing short shorts, tank tops. I got my ears pierced. And then I remember them trying to fix my walk because my walk wasn't feminine enough. Yeah, so I really
so much
tried.
of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you
I'm
so
just
much
gonna
for sharing that.
fucking say it. I'm gonna fucking say it. The entire fucking gender industry is based on the fact that these people didn't feel cool in high school. Guess what? A lot of us weren't in the cool kids club in high school, and we still made it. And it was fine. And we didn't have surgery to cut off our body parts to compensate for the fact that we weren't in the fucking cool kids club in high school. It is, I am absolutely convinced of it. And this is no shade on legitimately trans people, because I do think that legitimately trans people are a thing, and I don't really care what you do with your body after you're an adult. I don't really care. It doesn't mean anything to me at all. However, trans is the new teenage angst. When I was a teenager, grunge music was the teenage angst, and we all dressed in flannel and had baggy pants, and none of us looked like girls because that was what was in at the time. And then there was goth for like a minute and a half, and I got to wear really heavy eye makeup for a while. That was teenage angst when I was in high school. Was like grunge music and then goth to a lesser extent. These people are literally cutting off their fucking body parts because of teenage angst. That's all it is. It is teenage angst. Puberty sucks. Being awkward in high school sucks. But you survive and you're a better person for it. You don't cut off your body parts for it. And the fact that these adults are teaching it to kids and reinforcing the teenage angst rather than saying, you know what, being a teenager, really awkward time in your life, sucks for everyone, sucked for me too. Here are ways it sucked for me, but guess what? You're going to get through it. Instead of like, they legitimately could say, you know what, I was different in high school too. I was a nerd. I didn't fit in. I didn't have any friends. They could legitimately say that and create that type of connection with these kids. Instead, they're like, you need to get out of the gender binary. The gender binary is your problem. The gender binary is what is causing all of your problems in high school. Teenage angst is a normal thing. Teenagers have always gone through teenage angst. It just depends on what generation it is, what the fucking angst was. But you know what's different about this teenage angst is they're having fucking life-altering surgery because of it and may not be able to have kids one day because of teenage fucking angst. These people are so cringy. They make me so angry. And they're so smug about it. They're so smug in how they're manipulating these kids. All right, let's keep going.
Welcome back. Those who came back, I think that maybe there's a couple more groups that'll come back in a minute. The adults were all just sharing about their high school experience, which was just, you know, rough in ways around the gender piece. But thank you all so much for sharing.
Thank God for goths, frankly. I don't know.
Yes.
How those of us in the very specific
the 80s. Welcome back, folks.
Millennial subgroups.
Yeah.
Certain millennial subgroups.
Yes.
We
Welcome
should
back.
all be back now.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to acknowledge time, but that we have one more youth organizer who's going to share their story, and then we're going to talk about this program, which I'm really excited that we're going to talk about. So, Charlie, do you feel up for sharing some of your story at this point?
Yeah, remember mine's pretty short, so which is good. So the program that we're about to talk about, while I'm in high school now, it still would have meant like the world to me back when I was in middle school. During middle school, I was really struggling with my mental health. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know really there was other options, and in my mind, I knew that I couldn't talk to my parents about it. Like I was like, no, this is not something I talk to them about. Didn't really know anything about like a binder, which is something I use now, much as how to use it safely. And I was really on my own in figuring that out. I brought it up to my parents, well, specifically my mom. I brought it up to my mother, and she told my father. My father at the time, was not supporting trans people. He was very much of the mind that they weren't telling the truth, for example. But still, I had to rely on my father being ready for me to obtain these things until I could get one. And the time that I was waiting, seeing if he would respect me or not, if he would allow me to have this garment that would alleviate some of the discomfort and pain that I was experiencing. One of the worst times of my life, because at that point, I didn't know if I would ever be able to. And, you know, I was in middle school. You don't really think like, oh, when I'm 18, I'll be able to get one, you know? And
you should have adults to tell you that.
He did come around and I was able to get one. But the program that we're going to do would allow me to have gotten one a lot sooner, you know? And not only would it let me get one, it would allow me to ask questions and do it safely for myself and protect myself from experiencing what I had to with my family. And these resources are life-saving, and I'm really glad that people are starting to treat them as such, you know? That's it.
Thank you, Charlie. Really, really matters that, you know, this group of the three of y'all, Jay, who's not here, and Amaya and Charlie, we've been working to think about how do we get gender affirming resources into schools and how do we increase access. And I think, Charlie, do you want to talk a little bit about, why don't I start talking? Yeah, you're good. Okay, you jump in, and like, how did this project start? What is it? It's like gender affirming resources for youth and in schools. Charlie, go.
I think it actually started with, I think it was Jay and David, actually, I think were the ones that did this originally. Was that right? And then they brought it to us as a group of organizers to start talking about. And at that point, I and a couple other my coworkers jumped on. And our idea was basically getting things like binders and gaps and gender reaffirming resources to students through their schools. And that was one of the aspects of the thing, you know. There's the getting the resources, and then, sorry.
The reason they say that binders are life-saving is because they literally think that everything is life and death.
Individual support to these people.
That's not true. Sorry.
There's been a lot of amazing work on this, and I'm really excited that I get to be a part of it. And could you share the link to the poster, because I'm reading this off my phone, so it's not open on my computer yet.
Zoom is in 20 minutes. I'll talk about it in a sec.
And this is just like a flyer that shares like very little about it and gives you access to a form if you need these resources. And you can do this at your school. You can start helping to do this at your school. If you want to do that, you can reach out to us and we'll support you. And you can email me at on the email on the flyer, actually. I think that's there. Yeah, it's in the chat now. And yes, sorry. And is there anything else that you want to say?
I just want to say that we are actually working with one school right now, BFA St. Albans, which is Jay's school, and we're talking with the GSA there, and folks are going to be visiting the GSA, and like getting resources into school is one thing, but also removing the stigma and creating educational opportunities in the school and like support, peer support is another aspect of this. But it's rocking, and really, so like really you don't need to have your school, like you as an individual can.
So they're getting these resources, binders, into schools through the GSAs. That's what they just said. So I want to go on the what did she say? St. Albans? They say, sorry. What did they say? St. Albans? Which makes sense. St. Albans is right up near Burlington. So it's in that part of the state where they're uber woke. So I would like to go to their GSA page and find out if I can get a free binder as a teenager from the GSA in the school working with these people to give out these things in schools. Thank you, Phil. You're a champion per always.
Fill out that form, which the link is in the flyer. But if you're interested in bringing this to your school and getting those resources more available for trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming youth, definitely email Charlie and make it happen. Amaya, is there anything else that you want to add? Did we cover it all?
I think both of you pretty much covered it.
Thank you so much, for affirming that. I'm feeling, I feel like we're right up against time. And so at this time, like, I want to thank everyone for educational and opening right now. I also just want to thank Charlie and Amaya for your incredible work. I want to thank Eli and Shapeshifters for being the binder supplier, offering us a discount. I want to thank all y'all for reflecting on what it means to live in a gender binary and hear the stories about what it means when the gender binary like hits hard on trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming folks. And thank you so much for all of your sharing in your small groups. And we're going to close this piece right now, and we're going to take a brief break, maybe like a 5-minute break. And then, and I'm actually going to
Well,
stop.
guess what, guys? Guess what? They may have ended that one. But that's not the only thing we have on Outright Vermont's YouTube channel. I'm sure there's other things we can watch on here as well. Oh, look! Montpelier High School, GSA. Montpelier, I used to live in Montpelier, right down the road from Montpelier High School. They've got some other stuff on there too. Maybe we'll watch those another day. But guys, that is all the time that we have for today. I hope that that session, I wanted to see more of the kids, but I'm also kind of thankful from an ethical standpoint that they didn't actually feature more of the kids, but I really wanted to see the kids talking. I really did. But they did have some sort of semblance of like ethical responsibility, and they didn't show us the kids talking, which I suppose is a good thing. But they did give us some interesting information to work with, and I'm really glad that we did watch that. And I do want to keep an eye on Outright Vermont because, oh, by the way, they blocked me on Twitter like a long time ago because I infiltrated their webinar. But that doesn't mean we can't keep an eye on them. As you guys know, I have 8,000 burner accounts. I can keep an eye on whoever I want, including Katie fucking Herzog, who finally blocked me on Twitter today. That's another story. But guys, that is all we have for the stream today. Now, as a reminder, if you are a supporter in my locals or on Patreon, we will be gathering for a community call in about 15 minutes. We do community Zooms on Mondays at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at noon for people in other time zones. And basically, community Zoom is a time where you can just pop on, meet other members of my community. I have, I think, the very best community on the internet. It's kind of like some weirdos, kind of like some crazy ones, but we all like really get along. We respect each other. We have great conversations in the community Zooms. It is Marathon Monday, which means that the Zoom is probably going to last for a little while, but you still have time to sign up. How you can get access to it is by becoming a supporter either on Patreon or on locals. And if you're really looking for the community aspect, I might recommend that you pick locals over Patreon. Not that you can get some great perks on Patreon too, but locals really does have more of a community feel. My community is very active. I would go so far as to say it's probably one of the more active communities on locals. And so if you want access to that, head over to activelyunwoke.com/support, or you can go to kb.locals.com/support, whatever is clever for you. And you can sign up for $5 a month or for $50 a year, or you can make a one-time gift. And if you do that, you will be able to attend our Zoom call happening in 13 minutes. I will be sending a Zoom link out to the group in locals. I will also be sending a Zoom link out to Patreon, and we're going to have a great conversation. They are private. They are not recorded. It is our own little version of a safe space. Alexandra says, best, most sane convos ever. I would agree. Boomher says, we are the best community on locals. I think that that's true. All right, guys, that's all we've got to. Oh, yes, you also get access to the supporter Discord. We just had movie night last night on the supporter Discord, and we watched Idiocracy, which was terrifying. Idiocracy was terrifying. I haven't seen Idiocracy since I red pilled. If you haven't seen Idiocracy lately, it's terrifying. It's Twitter in a movie form, and I don't think that bodes well for us. Anyway, I'm going to go take a little break, guys. I will be sending out the Zoom link very soon, and I will be back tomorrow with another stream at 5 p.m. And that's all for today. Mount that like button on your way out the door. Please subscribe to the channel on whatever platform you're watching on if you have not already. Take care, and we will see you guys